185,000 mistakes? November 23, 2019 by Anna von Reitz. I recently took the time to explain the big picture problem of the Municipal United States Government, what it is and who controls it and how far off track it has gone. So what besides forming a stable clean government for Washington, D.C., is the municipal government supposed to do? The municipal government is also called the civil government and it is in charge of the federal civil service employees and their functions. Originally, the non-military functions of the federal government were largely performed by the American States of America Confederation, and the municipal civil government was limited to providing postal service and a well-run capital city and little else. Following the Civil War, the role of this foreign subcontractor was vastly expanded and it began doing work originally entrusted to the Confederation. It took over the patent, trademark and copyright offices, the government land office, the banks, the U.S. Mint, the customs houses and port authorities, the Coast Guard, the railroads and highway system, all of which were supposed to be controlled and run by the Confederation of States DBA States of America. By simply not disclosing the facts to the American public, the Reconstruction of the States of America was stalled and eventually set aside, and the foreign interloper fronted by the Holy See settled in. The next phase of development saw the municipal civil government proliferating itself like a cancer. Instead of doing all the extra work itself, the Municipal United States Government started hiring subcontractors and creating agencies. This is how we wound up with a foreign subcontractor hiring more subcontractors for us, and actually dodging the duties, so as not to be directly accountable. They hired the Federal Reserve. They hired the United States Postal Service. They basically farmed out all the work, like housemaids hiring housemaids for themselves, and all on our credit. By the end of FDR's administration, there were around 350 new federal agencies, all empowered to make their own laws and regulations and enforce them as administrative code. Thus, we now had unelected and unaccountable bureaucrats writing laws and imposing them on us. Over time, many of these agency contractors became corrupt or were directly misdirected by the municipal Congress to serve political agendas instead of providing any true service to us. We were devolving into a robber baron mentality in which the cabinet-level department secretaries could and did direct the outside agencies to do their dirty work. Thus we have the Department of Justice colluding with the CIA, MI6, DHS, FBI and so on, to illegally wiretap and spy on the Trump campaign, using all the equipment and manpower we pay for, to serve their own political and payola objectives. And they think this is okay. Some of the worst abuses have occurred at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, where blatantly criminal business models and technologies were protected under patents. But, by far the worst and most problematic development has been the chartering of over 185,000 municipal government corporations and letting these things masquerade as local-level governments. This is how we get sanctuary cities and other aberrations in conflict with actual public law and government in this country, and none of these entities are supposed to be here. The Holy See owes it to us and everyone else to come clean, explain the situation, fully disclose everything, and liquidate all the municipal government charters. Obviously, the Pope does not want to do this and would prefer to start a civil war instead. Thus far he has not even offered to sit down and negotiate a settlement of these issues with us, the states and people being usurped upon and harmed by this unconscionable situation. At any time in the past 150-plus years, the popes and the British monarchs could have done their duty as our trustees. They could have fully disclosed the situation at the end of the Civil War and assisted us in organizing new elections. They could have assisted the Reconstruction process instead of obscuring it. Instead, they saw an opportunity to benefit themselves at our expense and acted in gross breach of trust, treaty, and commercial service contract owed to us and to our states of the Union. Instead of making amends for any of this, and instead of seeking a peaceful resolution via confession and negotiation, the Pope and the Queen continue to interfere with our lawful government and to promote war on our shores. This is the thanks we get for preserving them and their institutions through 2 world wars. This is what their diplomacy really amounts to: ugly threats, obstruction, and interference in our internal affairs, even down to the level of spying on and trying to undermine President Trump. The Pope and the Queen have cashiered away and benefited themselves from vast amounts of American assets including land, gold, and silver which they purloined for their use, human resources that they conscripted under force and conditions of constructive fraud and deceit, and intellectual property and material rights they have preyed upon. If they wish to have peace in the world and friendship with America, it's time to upend and reverse course. The United States of America is still here, still alive. Our lawful persons are assembled and properly declared and constituted to collect and receive back the assets owed to us and our states of the Union, our land, our gold, our silver, our labor, our good names, our credit, and our peace. Even if it is impossible to return everything that they have purloined, the Pope and the Queen and all their assorted minions owe a good faith effort to do what they can to make amends and to cooperatively and peacefully assist us, 150 years late, as we restore our lawful government to full function at all levels. And there is certainly no excuse for either principal party, the Queen or the Pope, to meddle in elections, obstruct election outcomes, or to promote, instigate, or support any form of violence on our shores. Let all Americans know and all the other people around the world know, too, what we, and they, are up against. The Holy See has 185,000 plus mistakes to correct, and that's just for starters.